All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. It's your boy, Thinker St. James. Welcome back to the Yama channel. And this is last week's fights. I am here joined with my good friend, the Ohio player, #1 in the hearts of Americans everywhere, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
Again, every Monday, it's a new tale because who knows what's going to come up. But today we made it. Another one. Jesus
another
Christ.
one in the books, and another one not without its controversy and weirdness. I saw in the Discord, as we've said on the streams in the past, the Discord is extremely active. Join the MMA Hive. Get the links wherever you can. Actually, I guess I don't know where we're throwing those, but maybe you can throw it in the chat or something. But either which way, they'll be on any of the Yama videos coming out from here on out. We'll all have the link to the Discord. I encourage you to join the Discord. Good discussions going on over there. But in the Discord, I saw that a lot of people were dissatisfied with this card. Chase, what do you think about it?
Betting wise, actually, okay. Aside from betting, predictions. This is the fight game. I did really well with the outcomes. I was really happy with my decisions. There was a couple where I made some really goofball mistakes, but I had a double, or decision was part of the bet, so I was cool with it.
Right on.
Yeah.
And that's all you...
Yep, that's all I got. No other notes on that.
Well, I'll say it. That card sucked. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, it wasn't. I don't think it was not as bad as some people were making it out to be. It was not a great card. I mean, we can call it as it is. It definitely was not setting the world on fire.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that just knowing people, you're not going to get a good performance every time. Like I knew a lot of people on this card, but
yeah,
sometimes they're just not there. And maybe one person is and the other person ain't. And, it does take two to tango. But
yeah, for sure. And I mean, and we'll get into each fight individually here,
right.
but I mean, there are a couple where I was like, I would have liked to have seen better from a dude that I knew could have done better. You know what I mean? So let's jump on in and we can go through them and we'll pick it out where it makes sense to note. But all right, starting off here, this is the Taira versus Perez versus Taira Fight Night card we're going over. And the first fight on the prelims was Josephine Knutson versus Julia Palastri. Not too much to say about this one, except that it was a pretty textbook, nice performance from Josephine. From on my end, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced her name that way because I definitely did not know the pronunciation until they started doing it. So that was quite fun to learn. But I'll tell you an interesting note why the Discord is also madness. I bet on this fight to go to decision. I was very confident.
Mm-hmm.
Women's prelim fighting. When do they get finishes?
Yeah.
And the reasoning why somebody did not put money down on it, which crazy, was because what if someone goes in there and breaks their ankle? So I just wanted to throw that one out there. Like somebody lost money. I'm not gonna name them. Somebody lost money because that was their excuse not to bet on women's prelims.
Fair enough. But and there's another fight coming up that I'll come back to circle back to that point, but just because of some things that I noticed in that one. But this one, not the case. Yeah, no. That note also came up in the watch along chat. Also, by the way, myself and Chase also do individual watch alongs of every UFC event. You can see mine here on at Yama Show and on all of your streaming platforms. Chase on his YouTube channel, which. We know the URL, right, Chase? What is it?
Yeah. At CP Smalls. Yeah, youtube.com/at CP Smalls, something like
there
that.
You go. You got it. So, but yeah, so we were doing the watch along, and that was a note that that did come up in the chat. Is that when are we going to see some quality finishes from the women? Like, at this stage of the game. I mean, like we were having a kind of a longer discussion about it, me and Vitz King, about women's MMA and the overall merits of it. And I think that when you get into the higher levels, it's it can be as exciting as the men's fights for sure. I think that it needs to catch up when it comes to the overall representation of women in the sport. And it like the like lower level fighters need to start catching up earlier, I guess is my overall note, because this fight, the other one we'll talk about here, it's like we've been seeing decision after decision, and now, I mean, there are a lot of different factors that play into that. However, like to really separate yourself, go out there and get the submission. To really separate yourself, go out there and get a knockout, because you will always have eyes on you as a woman getting knockouts in the UFC.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note too, like Knutson is really skilled, like on the feet. Like she's not like a bad striker. It's like they just don't knock people. Like I don't know. And if you're not gonna do that, then you got to submit them to finish. Like I mean, there's only one other option, more or less. Like what are you gonna get, a doctor stoppage? It's not very likely. So it's just like it is crazy to see the odds for it. It'd be a coin toss for it to go to decision. And sometimes I understand if they're like a submission specialist, but this one. Nah, I figured it was just going to skate all the way to the bell.
Yeah. And, so I had seen Knutson on the Contender Series, not on the Ultimate Fighter, on the Contender Series. And she did well. I mean, like, it was, again, textbook. This fight was textbook. It reminded me a lot of her other fight that I had seen. She's a pretty skilled striker. She admitted after the fight that she needs to work on her ground game, and that was really what was giving me, some nerves there, because I had one line with her on it. Where it's like what we talk about with heavyweights all the time, right? I mean, like, if there are holes in the game, just plug the leaks, right? I mean, that's really all I see from her. I would like to see a little bit more intention in some of her striking a little earlier, like because like when you are going in there, like it looked like Palastri really did want to go to the ground more often than not. She was striking a little bit, but like she was going in trying to get the level change. If you know that that's what you're coming in against, and your striking is your greatest weapon, then utilize it effectively earlier, I guess would be my note to her. But really, just a fine striking display overall.
I'll say one last thing. I think is the fight kind of reminded me of with Pooja. She was very at range a lot doing the sidekick stuff, but she was doing that too much. She wasn't engaging and being aggressive. Now she was, with Pilastri, she was getting in her head. She was frustrated very early on after those kicks. Like she was like really wanting her to like try to fight with her, but Knutson played her game and she did it well. When they went to the ground, you know, it didn't look great. So she's got to
Yeah,
work on
because
it. But
and I guess that's to piggyback and off the point that I was making. That's kind of what I guess what I was getting at a little bit there too. Is that she kept teeping so much, and it was nice to see because it was effective and it was you're like you said it was frustrating Pilastri for sure. When you're going to do that, you like mix it up with the effective close range stuff as well for like the full effect because really I mean you push it range so far and you keep her at distance so far it adds up but it's not doing like effective damage, you know what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, but I think she's got potential. 8-0 obviously now. I mean, she's doing good early on in her career for sure. Gain some ground game because that definitely is a hole that was showing there. Because that I think it was the second round where she had gotten taken down and she got held down for a little minute there. Should just fix that. I mean, work on that heavy and put some more power behind some of the punches. When you're throwing in addition to the kicks. Or if you want to keep with the kicks, go with some heavier, more effective stuff in addition to the teeping and the push kicks.
Yeah, and I think I'll say too, she can train all she wants for it. She's never gonna be an elite like grappler at this point, but she needs to be sufficient enough
Right.
that, and and have her stand up is great, but it needs to be better. And I know that's hard to say, but like if you're not gonna have some crazy ground skills, you gotta compensate and do things a lot better than somebody would, on the ground, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you're exactly right. It's really about leveling up all of the elements that you do have and taking the ones that you don't and just putting some numbers on that. You know what I mean? Some stats on that. Because yeah, it like pretty much exactly what you just said made it's like the whole that's really what she needs to have as her like basis is all of the things she does well and then get a little bit better at the things that you don't do well so that you have a well-rounded performance overall and hopefully can counteract some of the things that are coming at you because you never know what your opponent is going to be rocking with and they're not always going to be the Julia Plastries of the world.
I'll make a good comparison. I think she has potential, and I know this is reaching high because she's probably she's the person that I'm compared to. She's kind of like Manon Fior. If she gets some good takedown defense, and she can stay on the feet and it never goes to the ground type thing. She can be good. She's not. I don't think she's as good with the hands, but I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, for sure. And she's early, 8-0 just starting out really. I mean, at least when it comes to the UFC, I mean, she's got ways to go and leveling up all of those things. And I'll make this point a little bit later on. I keep wanting to compare it to the other women's fight on the card just because there are parallels there, but I don't know if putting more weight on makes sense for her if it's going to affect her striking, but it could, and
Yeah.
that's going to be something that we'll talk about in a bit. But really, whatever it takes whether it's putting the weight on or just more effectively utilizing the striking when you are in close range. I think a note that I'm going to be making a lot on some of these fights is that I want to see more fighters at the earlier stages and lower levels of the sport going in and engaging more. Like you
Mhm.
can't fight scared, and I'm not saying that they're scared to fight. You can't go in so apprehensive, that anything that's coming at you're staying a mile away. Like I'm great with range. I'm fine with effective range striking, but you have to go after it a little bit more some of these times. And I think that Knutson's performance here with all the pushing and all the teeping and stuff, it kind of illustrates that to an extent. Like you can do that, but you have to also go after it. And I think that getting a little more aggressive might be something that she could turn up as well.
No, yeah, for sure. Because we know people. There's a people that they have the note that you have to take a shot to give a good shot, and you can know people who got that. And there's actually a women's fight that I'll argue a girl that knows she can take a shot and she's ready to give a handful back. But we'll get to it in a few.
Right.
But if Knudsen is ready to, get in the pocket and trade, she might be able to have some success. But like I
Yeah.
said, we're not going to see a finish or anything. So she's just got to point all the way to the bell, which is what she did. Kudos to her.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's as I said earlier, just about women's MMA in general. It's like when you see a woman, really almost in any of the weight classes, even and that has knockout power, that sits you up. You know what I mean? We talk about putting stamps on fights. We talk about giving us stuff to remember. That's something that you remember. So really, I mean, kind of a general note, because we have seen so many decisions in the lower levels of women's MMA. Get that knockout power and go after it. You can't be fighting worried about your face.
Yep.
So all right.
All right, we can move on after that one.
Yes, sir.
We'll leave it on that. We talked about them for a little bit, and I got more to say about the next women's fight. So
right, yeah, exactly, same. All right, but before we get to that, we've got. All right, my pronunciation game was good for one. Let's see if I can get it twice here. It's Mesquizel. Is that Mesquizel?
Is that how you say?
Melquizel?
Where you? Oh, there you go.
Melquizel Costa. I believe that's how you.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And then,
I think that's how it is.
And then his opponent, go for it.
That one I do know. Shailen Nerdenbeke.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, great.
It's just the first name that gets me on Costa, but Costa will do just fine. Mezikel Costa versus Shailen Nerdenbeke. Yeah, this fight upset the hell out of me.
Really? Yeah. So this was a prime example of why you need to learn BJJ, because the most muscular dude ever is gonna gas out, and I knew he would. Look at his frame. Like, come on. Like, you never make it far with that unless you can put people down. And he may be able to, but it was a wrestling match. And Costa was having some trouble, man. The power was a factor. But in the end, get the sub. And I knew it was coming. Sub or decision. I was hoping he got the sub, which he did. Decision was the fallback. My guy got it done for sure.
Well, all right. So to that point, I don't think that you would have been so happy had it gone to decision, though, because those first two rounds, Nerdenbeke was handling business, man. I mean, like he was doing his damn thing. So I mean, really, like why it was upsetting to me was I had a Nerdenbeke. I mean, he's got 50 plus fights now. I thought that I thought that the power plus the experience plus the fact that I believe, was coming in off of a loss. I thought that maybe the hunger would have been there for the win. Those first two rounds, he was really doing everything pretty well right as far as the wrestling went. I mean, striking wasn't really there because it wasn't that type of fight, but when it came to the control, he was all over him. He was like glue on him, and moving from position to position nicely. And then that, right there in the third, he's, it's starting to get a little bit farther down. I was hoping that he had worn Costa out from all of the exchanges in the wrestling and just, being dominated for those two rounds. But lo and behold, man, you are exactly correct that the gas tank just fell out of the vehicle altogether on Nerdenbeke, and Costa swung around real quick. It was a quick transition too, if you recall the way that changed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we saw some really slick grappling in this at some moments, and I actually want to argue that looking at the stats now, there was no way he was losing in decision. The Shailen, he had 20 landed strikes and he only threw 28 is what they tallied. It's kind of nuts.
But I mean, they're not factoring in the control time at least not on these stats.
Well, okay, so we got 6 minutes of control time for Shailen, and then 3 minutes for Costa. So it ain't like crazy. And then Costa was 2 for 2 on takedowns. Shailen was 4 for 10. And then Costa had 2 sub attempts to 1. I know these aren't really things that matter, but I mean, looking at these numbers right here, I have no problem with a decision if that's what it went to.
All right, fair. If that had been the case, maybe the betting bias was in effect for me. I had it as I thought that Nerdenbeke was controlling the pace of everything pretty well.
Oh no, for sure. He was manhandling for the longest time, but like that's why I knew it was gonna get sketchy for him. He was gonna slip up, and Costa was. Hey, he seems to be like he's a slick guy.
Fair.
He seems like he can get those.
Yeah, because I mean, really, the transition was what got me. I was just like, man, you were doing such nice work controlling everything, and then all of a sudden, it really was just a swing around, you know, because they were, I believe, on the ground already, or that are on their knees.
Yeah.
They weren't standing, so. It goes from Nordembeke, you know, had control. He was, you know, tied him up or whatever, and then Costa just swings his body around, flings himself right into a perfect back grounded position, and just goes in, gets the rear naked. I mean, it was quite a tonal shift out of you know, on a drop of a dime. So I mean, props to him. But man, it was sailing away because I had him as the dark horse. I was like, this is a good underdog bet over here, and unfortunately, that did not work out for me. So fair play to
I
Costa.
want to say I think this might have been the first fight where I started to notice, or well, I noticed it in this fight, and then maybe this next fight I started to put it together. People are starting to know how to defend an RNC. They're getting better at it. They're tucking the chin a lot better, and they're getting the hand off, and that
Yes.
seems to be working really well. Like they can't get once the hand comes down, it's like fair game at that point. Like. And
Yeah.
I think in this one, it might have been towards the end of the second round where like the first deep sub and the bell might have rang out because he was pulling his arm down. I was thinking, like, dang, like they're getting it. They're getting down.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. That's actually, if there is a takeaway from this card, that is a very good point. That there was some decent defenses of rear nakeds on this card, and yeah, I mean that's such a very very pivotal clutch thing to be able to do when it is such a, you know, lights out situation. I mean, that's a dead to rights submission. That's why everybody goes for it. It's, you know, the most effective
Yeah.
sub for the most part, really. I mean, you know, there's really, it's very hard to defend. So,
Right.
you know, now that these guys are able to, you know, fight the hands a lot better, tuck the chin a lot better. If you're Raul Rosas Jr., you have a tactical chin already built in. You've
Exactly.
got a little bit of a natural advantage. It's good to see.
Yep.
But yeah, so you know, this it was a good fight though. Yeah, just a little sad for my my parlay, but you know, like I said, fair play to Costa for being able to turn it around. Because yeah, I don't know, man. I would have, at least in the moment, I had it going for Nordembeke right up until that submission. So
Yeah. No, that's kind of, I don't know. 28 landed strikes. I don't think that might be, or 28 thrown strikes kind of sounds crazy. They might not be counting something there. So, either way.
yeah, that I mean, then also it's just, you know, it's like the numbers versus the actuality of the fight. I guess, you know, is like, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I have to rewatch it, but either way. All right,
All
so
right.
next fight is Jekka Sarangi versus Weston Wilson, and I know that the Discord was buzzing over your boy Jekka. What happened?
So let's go back to a fight because there's a context to this one.
Sure,
Josh Van versus Ulanbekov got canceled.
it
Bro
did.
missed weight. Ulanbekov missed weight. I was 100% all in on Josh Van as the plus 200 underdog. I knew he was going to get it done. Ulanbekov knew he was going to get it done. That's why he came in overweight. He thought he was going to get this fight, you know, minus a purse, but I'll
4.5
take the weight.
pounds.
Yeah,
Sorry,
thought he was going to get it
4.5
done.
pounds.
Dude. So featherweight, you guys, or flyweight, excuse me, flyweight, be ready because you guys, somebody's gonna have to fight him. It's gonna be a short notice guy or like somebody who hasn't done much but has in other promotions, and he's on the way, man. I don't care if you got to cheat to try to do it, it ain't working. So anyway, after that fell through, I realized, oh my gosh, my guy Jekka Saragi is on this card. Holy shit, I got another boy. And this one was bad. I thought he was gonna knock him out. And I want to make a point because nobody seems to be making this point. So at the last second, I was looking at the odds. And I put a little, I was like, you know what, maybe it goes to decision. Weston Wilson maybe goes to decision. He doesn't get knocked out. It was a plus 1,200 for the decision. I'll tell you what the submission was, plus 1,600. Somebody is rich as shit right now because that is crazy. And one more thing I'll put on this one,
Sure.
just to have a note, and I'll let you go on.
All right.
If these were the old gloves, the first shot that Jekka hit him with would have dropped him. That's what he does. It's the
All right,
glove.
okay. Now you can't just open that can of worms and send me back on my way, bro. I've seen the reels, I've seen the analysis, I've heard the discussion. that's a multifaceted one, and I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical as to how much these gloves are actually playing as big a part as people are thinking that they are, or as me and the homie Badger, shout out to the homie Badger, we're saying in the Discord, how much of it is people just not fucking going after it.
Dude, I'm telling you, that shot that Jekka hit him with, man, it's the money shot. That's what he does. He's done that in his whole career. It's just no coincidence. I'm not going to buy into it. Jekka Saragi, I'll give you another chance, man. Shout out to Indonesia. You were my dog, and you got caught in a triangle armbar. Like,
that was crazy. That was some really nice work from Weston Wilson to get that one accomplished. Holy shit.
Yeah. So what would you like to say about the fight? Sorry, I had to go on a rant.
No, you're good, man. And actually, let me go through all of what you all of what you just said and break that down on my side. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but it had to be stated that when you say Ulanbekov missed weight by 4.5 fucking pounds, unacceptable. Fucking acceptable. I am sick and fucking tired of these fighters coming in with missing weight fucking egregiously. Like that is fucking ridiculous. I'm glad that I don't know what the circumstances were, whether Josh Van turned the fight down or if the UFC was just like, you can't, we can't let that happen.
Right.
Like, I mean, because I guess technically they could have made it a catch weight and that still would have been bullshit. But either which way, like, I don't care why it didn't happen. It should not fucking happen. Do your goddamn job. Show up on weight. That is fucking the numero uno of getting into this shit and doing it effectively is being a professional about it and, not going and making weight and not getting fouled out. That's professionalism when it comes to MMA. Do your goddamn job. I cannot stress how annoyed that is. And also, because that fight is canceled, now we're deprived of a Josh Van performance, and I know how high you are on him. So, I mean, yeah. I'm a fan too. I want to see the guy succeed. And like you said, I mean, somebody's going to have to fight him. And if he's staying at flyweight, he's going to be a serious problem down there. So, with the power that he has. And it sucks that we didn't get to see that with that fight. So anyway, just a general note, because I was extremely upset back a couple of months ago when Wonder Boy had the Pereira fight canceled on him, or he declined that fight and then had his purse withheld or whatever. I thought that was insanely bullshit. I was going to make a video on that, didn't have the time to do it, but that really bothered me. And I'm really tired of these fighters coming in and essentially either fucking, making fights get canceled or being weight bullies. It's like, fucking get out of here with this shit. Facts.
Yeah, so, no, it was pretty frustrating.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So that out of the way, because I definitely wanted to touch on that. I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, as far as this fight goes, yeah, I didn't know necessarily what to expect. I mean, Wilson has had his ups and downs, so it was kind of a risky bet from my perspective. But I didn't know too much about Jekka. I had seen on my book at least that Wilson by knockout early, I believe was minus money, and so I was like, that's interesting. I mean, because all of what I was seeing leading up to that, I was like, he doesn't look like he's about to get this knockout right now. I mean, right. But so, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would have predicted the triangle armbar situation. That was very, very nice work on his part. And honestly, yeah, I mean, really, Jekka didn't do all that much that impressed me leading up to that. I mean, it was later in the first round, but it still was the first round. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really catch too much. So why was he so much buzz coming into it?
Bro, he drops bombs. Like I'm telling you, he knocks people out and he dances.
Oh, okay. So you're right. Okay, so that goes back to the gloves issue. My bad. So yeah. All right. Well, so then I guess. I mean, okay. So how about we'll take just a slight detour because it's relevant now. Then, do you really believe that shit? Do you really believe that it's the gloves?
I think we're gonna get a good if Sergey Pavlovich, if you don't get a knockout, okay.
That's
now
a good point.
maybe that's asking for a lot. Now if Alex doesn't get a knockout, now we're getting into territory where it's not more of a myth, but it's actuality. Like the state of the gloves, like you can't say that they're not because it is happening, or it is not happening. per se. We're not getting the knockouts, so statistically, the gloves are a factor in that. You can't say it's the people.
So fair. All right. Well, so if that, all of that being what it is, that and I probably should know this, and I'm a little embarrassed that I don't. But is there more or less padding in the new gloves? And what is the difference that's making that specifically?
I want to say that they're lighter. And for some reason, that doesn't add up to people on why they're not getting more knockouts because there's less padding or something. Maybe I got it backwards, but I don't know. I just know that we're not getting the knockouts. And I'm telling you, Jekka's a knockout guy. I've watched him drop big bombs. I mean, same with Tiara. And Perez was hitting Tiara with some clean shots too. And we just saw Perez knock out Nicolau like a couple months ago. Another one, like if you really want to get into it, Nate Maness, right? He was favorited like a -60 to get a knockout in the first round. I bet on him to get more than 25 strikes. He ended up with 139 and he didn't finish. Okay. There's another one. Josh Quinlan and Adam Fugit had 100% finish rate in the UFC and they went to decision.
All right. I mean, you're making solid arguments here. I mean, the one thing I would say, and this is almost more of a devil's advocate statement, because I honestly don't know one way or another. I'd like to see more definitive proof, and as you said, I guess we're gonna get it as time goes on. But I mean, boxers are getting knockouts with huge gloves, though. No, I mean, isn't that how do you know what I mean? Like how do you factor that?
I think that's the reason it's not making sense is because like they have a bunch of padding, so it helps them. I don't know.
So less padding equals more.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. It ain't my business to know. I'm only here to watch the sport. I know that what they have on their hands, it ain't working right now.
Yeah,
I'll give you another if you want another.
Sure.
The Timmy Kawamba and Lucas Almeida. He was beating the shit out of him.
It's true.
And
but he did drop him, though.
He did, but he didn't put him out. That's all I'm saying. We haven't seen a clean knockout. And then another, Brady, he got rocked too, but he didn't go out. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make the choices.
I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm going to touch on it in the Yama video. I'll try to do a little bit of research on it, maybe get a little more of a full, well-rounded perspective for the video to give a couple more thoughts on it. But that, at least now we've talked about it. Now that is a prevailing argument that is coming out now about these gloves is that not only are they not doing their job when it comes to negating eye pokes, they are also limiting knockouts, and that is going to be a big problem going forward for the sport and for the organization. I guarantee you that Dana White is not happy about less knockouts.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, fair enough then. But so, yeah, I mean, I guess that is pretty much all I had to say about the Jekka fight. I mean, come back and do better. Hopefully the gloves will be changed by the time you come back, if that's the case. But really, nice work from Wilson with that triangle armbar, man. That was a really nice thing to see.
For sure. Yeah, and so actually another thing, I'll make a note on that. After he won, I saw that he was in Wonder Boy's camp.
Yes, yeah, I did. I heard that too.
I would not have bet on submission any more likely knowing that information beforehand. So he really showed out there with pulling that out because Wonder Boy ain't got a single thing in his arsenal that he's thrown up I've seen. So
sure, good job, Weston. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I guess that's probably why he had such heavy numbers on getting a knockout. Is he's training with one of the best strikers in the world. So. But the submission, it makes it even all that more impressive. So yeah, shout out Weston Wilson on that one. All right, so we've referenced it a couple of times. Carly Giudice versus Gabriela Fernandez. Go for it, my dude.
All right, so I watched Carly on the Contender Series. She was very impressive because she has the cardio to get to the belt, throwing very long combinations and taking shots back. She was facing against Ernesta Kedetske, is how you pronounce it. I just found that one out. That's a good one. Nice. And Ernesta lost in her debut, and same situation happened. She was able to get to the bell, she was able to strike, and she was able to keep it interesting, but she just doesn't have the level that we need. Like she's getting like Carly in this one. Gabriela Fernandez, shout out to her. Bet on her to go to decision and win. Easy one. She was dropping bombs. And, we want to talk about gloves. I'm not going to say this is a good example, but she was throwing some heat. And Carly, I knew she was going to eat all these shots. That's why the decision was so good for me, because Carly's not going to go down. But she was inexperienced. I figured it was going to go to the ground and become like a ground game. But Gabriella is not a submission person. As you can see, she's a brawler. And I give her props because she did it well. And it was real easy. I knew the outcome the whole time. I was very proud of that one.
Fair. Yeah, I'd say that that's an accurate assessment. It was a nice performance from Fernandez. So for Giudice, I did not see her on the Contender Series. She's one that slipped by me. What I noticed from her is that she is very, very undersized. Like, and I mean, look, she's fighting women's flyweight. That's, these are small human beings to begin with. We get that. But even for that, I mean, for that class and all of those things, being factored in, she is a small woman to begin with. She has very small arms. My note.
She lost a bunch of weight, actually.
Oh, so okay. So she already was dropping down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was like a little like huskier, maybe. Nah, that's a bad word to say, but like she was
bulkier,
losing some lbs. Yeah, she was losing some lbs when she came in.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that was the thing that stuck out the most. And I made that note on the Knudsen versus Pilastri fight about Josephine maybe putting some weight on to get her muscle up in order to be more effective with the striking. That is my absolute note to Giudice. She should not be fighting so low. I mean, she looks emaciated when she's in the cage. I mean, and that it's like I'm not saying that physique equals power. That's of course not true. However, it just did not appear to me, based on what I was looking at, that she would be able to generate even enough power to be able to get her way. You know what I mean? Like, not even about knockouts. Fuck, throw that out the window. But to be able to do effective grappling and any kind of ground game, she seemed like she would be easily thwarted just because she didn't have a lot of weight to be putting on the other fighter.
I think, and something to note too, it is such an interesting story of how she's got like this, why is she 3-1 in the UFC, and why did they just want to see her get beat up at such an inexperienced level? Like, it seems so odd for her of all people. Like, why is she here? Like,
yeah, I mean, it does kind of like I mean, based on what I'm seeing, I'm kind of agreeing with that. Like from her, like she did not appear to me to be of the caliber of the organization. I really don't, I don't mean to say that disrespectfully. It's just kind of how I looked at it. And then also you've got Fernandez on the other side of that doing some decent work. It really, it was an overshadowing performance.
I'll say Fernandez was definitely gassing. I would say that she was fading towards the end of the fight, and the tides were shifting for Carly. But it's just like, why didn't you just get some extra years somewhere else, amateur? Like, who thought it was a good idea to throw you in here so quick? You're just gonna rack up unnecessary losses, or get some decent wins over some lackluster competition. It's just a weird situation. And not that she looked bad. She looked really well, but she's just going to look well enough losing. She's just one of those punching bag type of fighters. Angel Pacheco was another one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think that they're based on some of the sort of little flecks of work that she was doing. I guess that there might be some adjustments that could be made so that it's not as, weighted that way, so that it's not that situation so heavily. But even with some adjustments, it didn't look like she was up to snuff personally. I didn't see anything in there personally that made me say, oh, well, that might have been a loss, but she can come back better and, this and that. I mean, not to say she can't, of course. I mean, go in there and prove me wrong. But as of right now, it didn't look like it was adding up. And Fernandez, aside from the gas tank a little bit towards the end, I mean, but it really was kind of later in the fight. Up until then, she was getting her way and looked fine. So yeah, I mean, the weight issue to me kind of like maybe I'm looking at it backwards. Maybe the performance was as such so that I was like, well, maybe it's the weight, I mean, chicken or the egg kind of situation. But either way, she just looked very, very undersized. So that would be my first note, would be to put on some weight and like work that so that you might be able to get some decent clinching exchanges, get her to the ground kind of thing. Possibly that might be one thing that could work, but I'm not even so confident that would anyway.
I think to note lastly,
yeah,
Carly is a striker. If she would have had some sort of grappling or some sort of ground game, we most likely would have seen it. You pray maybe she does. Gabriella beat her at her own game of striking. Very basic technique, just throwing haymakers, straights, hooks. Like there wasn't nothing interesting about it. If Carly ever faced a real technical striker, man and Fiora, I know that's a different weight class, but that's a good example. She would get really, really bad done.
Yeah, I just see with that level of striking and not really any kind of significant ground abilities, then I mean, like, you never know, because like I said, I didn't see her on the Contender Series, so I didn't necessarily know if there was more to her ground game than what she was showing in there. But if you're saying that she's got none of that, that striking would get eaten up by the middle of flyweight easily. I mean,
She just stands and bangs.
Yeah, I don't see that going much farther. And plus, with the 3-2 now as the record, I mean, yeah, we'll see what the future holds. It doesn't look like it would be much advancing, in my opinion.
Who knows? She may be around this organization for a long time. She could just go on 1-1, 2 and like she could just go on and off, and she could be one of those people that end up just 13-11 for their career. She may have a lot of fights on her hand. Like who knows? She might evolve. She's only 25 or something.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, there is something to be said that the organization does need those, kind of that level of fighter for other talent to to go through, and so somebody's got to fight them, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm being a real asshole to this girl, and I really don't mean to be, but I really just got to call it like I see it on it.
Facts. All right, we can move on.
Yes, sir. All right, so Jimmy Flick versus Nate Maness. Yeah, I mean this. I don't know. You go ahead and you tell me, and I'll follow up.
I stated earlier that Nate Maness was a favorite to knock him out in the first round. I can see why. I mean, he was popping Jimmy up, really some good shots. And, the striking, the way he was feinting, he might be watching a little too much Conor McGregor. It looked like he was trying to do some interesting stuff there. And, he did win unanimous decision, but he ain't put him out like he was supposed to. And maybe it's the gloves, man. And he can blame the gloves too. But he won easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Flick, I thought, was doing some decent work. He definitely was more game than people were giving him credit for, because it was supposed to be that. I mean, Maness was like a -700 or something. I mean, like he was like a pretty heavy favorite on my book, I believe. I mean, it might not have been -700, but it was he was a sizable. I think he was the highest favorite on the card for my book. So I mean, I give Jimmy Flick a lot of credit. I think everybody was really kind of counting him out, so I was rooting for him, because he was, he was holding his own, I would say. I mean, it wasn't like it was a completely one-sided ordeal. I mean, he was tying him up decently. I mean, there were some decent grappling exchanges going on there. But yeah, I mean, overall, Maness did his thing. I mean, it was. I guess that would be the assessment is. Maness, did what he needed to do, but it was closer than people were giving Flick credit for. So decent fight overall.
And blame the gloves, whatever you want to say, but this is a fight that Nate it would have looked good on his resume to finish this fight. Unanimous decision or decision in general, it looks like there was some sort of opportunity, there was a chance, but. Yeah, I don't know. It would have looked better if he would have finished him.
Yeah, that's a note that I'm going to be making about Miles Johns coming up in a little bit as well. But yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's really all I had to say about this one. Decent fight overall. Went to decision. Not the worst. Like, it was good enough for Jimmy Flick to not be hanging his head in shame. I don't think it's going to be a cut-worthy one. But at the same time, I believe Flick is now on a 3-fight losing streak.
That's the unfortunate part about this sport, is that it is.
Oh no! Okay, he won against Malcolm Gordon. My bad.
it is legacy, not legacy based, but you do have to be good to be in this sport. Like you have to be a winner. You know, we can like you all you want, but if you're not winning, and it doesn't really apply to him after we see the record, but you got to win. You can't just be the funny guy who loses, and we talk about that all the time.
For sure, absolutely. And I mean, unless your name is Tony Ferguson, man, you're only as good as your last fight. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, yeah, no, I forgot about the Malcolm Gordon fight, but yeah, because he was on that 2 fight skid, beat Malcolm Gordon, loses this one, so he's getting a little bit checkery. But I'd heard like some real negative talk about him, that like it was going to be a complete trashing, and it wasn't. So that, I guess, is the silver lining for him on that one.
Cool.
All right, so on to the main card, starting off with Josh Quinlan versus Adam Fugit. Josh Quinlan, this was not the Josh Quinlan that I was hoping to see, man. I was disappointed with the version of Josh that showed up. That was what I remember saying in the watch along.
Yeah, I actually never made the point. So most of my predictions did well. The ones that did not are the last second ones that I took the Discord's advice on. Not gonna lie, and Josh Quinlan is one of them because they were like, "Yo, this guy, 100% finish rate. He can go in there and get it done." And I'm thinking, all right, we'll bet that it finishes. Both of them, you know. And yeah, it just didn't look very good. There was maybe 3 fights. Let me say no. I want to okay, two for sure. This fight and Miles Johns, just nothing there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so for the Fugit Quinlan fight, I mean, Fugit was I mean, like he was controlling well. I mean, like really, he did what he needed to do to pull it off. But I think that it was less of him winning and more of Josh losing. It was the way that I looked
Yeah.
at it. Because I've seen Josh Quinlan fight. I mean, like the losses that Quinlan has were like wars. I mean, like he's one of those dudes that like is a victim of the matchmaking in some of his earlier fights, because he's really like technically a sound fighter. Like, I mean, he's got the skills and he's got the power. So it's like it surprised me that he was not able to pull more off in this fight, and Fugit just kind of, I think the one thing I'd say about Fugit is that he found the rhythm early. I think he was able to kind of figure out the attacks pretty well early on, and once it started getting a little bit later into the fight, it just started, to pull away from Josh more and more, and he didn't look like the same version of himself that I've seen in previous fights, and that was unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't watch him before, but it just was a lackluster performance for a guy that people were pretty high on, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunate one there. I mean, I don't know if that necessarily changes the viewing of Josh Quinlan going forward. 6-3. I mean, that the losses are starting to creep up a little bit, and it's not, go on a win streak and it'll all be fine. But it would be unfortunate, I guess, to say it would be unfortunate if Josh Quinlan starts to fade this early into what otherwise could have had been a career that had a lot of promise.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I'm not saying that will be the case. I'm just, I don't want to, see that going forward from here on out. So hopefully whatever was going on with him, he can kind of shore up and come back stronger, because lackluster is the way to describe it for sure. All right. Asu Almabayev versus Jose Johnson. My boy Asu Almabayev getting the goddamn job done yet again. I am high on Almabayev.
I will say, yeah, for sure. This is another one I bet, submission or decision. It was a really good one. And I'll say this, Jose Johnson, he might be a problem. So if he stays down at this weight for some reason, I don't know why he would, but if he does, he could be a problem, because I'll make the point. Any other person would have been done to that triangle that he had on Asu. The fact that he got out of it, that dude's built different. Like now I know why I bet on him. Like he's just different, guys. He's so good.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you made the point. Jose Johnson, a 6 foot flyweight. This is insanity. Dude is fighting 125 pounds at 6 feet tall. It is fucking nuts. I mean, I would think, I mean, that going up seems like you said, why did he? I mean, obviously the size advantage makes sense, but it just seems like what I had not seen him fight before, I don't think, or if I had it was a fight that I didn't commit to memory. He didn't look like he was using his range all that well for a guy that's built like that. Like, you know, if your whole aim is to fight that low because you want the size advantage, you have to utilize the advantages in a way that makes sense for you. I like, like to be the bigger
Yeah.
guy and to be the longer guy and to not utilize it. I mean, it just seemed very strange because when he, I would have thought that for a guy that size, he would have been coming out like shooting out with, just a high kick off the jump. You know what I mean? Like some shit like that. Come out with just a nice body shot, just straight off rip. Run to the center and throw a kick like that just to put Almabayev on alert. Like, yo, you don't come close, because Almabayev really didn't have all that much difficulty when he got inside. It wasn't like he was, really putting up too much of a crazy defense when they got into range. And Almabayev just really showed all of the things that I had seen in the last fight from him. It really, his cardio is ridiculously good to be able to get out of the submissions that he got out of. At least that triangle was, a very impressive ability as well. I mean, like all the things that he needs are there. Jose Johnson, none, not to be perfectly frank,
Yeah, he might do well if he gets up against a striker, but I don't know. Why would you stay at this weight? You're getting UFC money now. UFC money. You can get a nutritionist. You just get some weight on, and that's coming
easily,
from you.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. Yeah, no, easily, man. I think that going up would make sense. I mean, if he's worried about the power at the higher weight classes, I guess that I can understand that. But again, this goes back to the initial point that I had made. Don't fight scared, bro. I mean, like if those types of things are on your mind already, then you're in a bad mental position, wherever you are, no matter what weight you're at. If those are the things that you're considering, then there's already problems. So, get the technical game up a little bit. Use your range, bro. Use your limbs. I mean, you've got long limbs. You're a tall guy. Use those. There,
Kick.
just yeah, exactly. Kick, teep, do all the stuff that comes with being the taller, bigger guy. I mean, like, and if you put on a little bit of weight, utilize that effectively. In a higher class, it would make sense. Because obviously, if you're 16-9, you're fighting a flyweight and you're losing to Almabayev here, a much smaller guy comparatively, then all your competitive advantage is not working out for you as is. So
Yeah. I mean, you're losing down here. You can go lose up, like.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Fine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I guess the broader point is don't lose so much. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Figure out the things that need to be figured out. But I will say on the other side of that equation, not to rag solely on Johnson, Almabayev, I'm telling you, man, this is a dude to watch out for. This after watching his last fight, I remember I had to mention it in the M episode on the last card that he was on. I was like, this guy is. He was putting on a show there, and he did a really nice job here. I would like to see finishes from him. That's what we need to start seeing now too. Because flyweight, I mean, we've seen a couple of flyweights on here that can could potentially be problems. That like there needs to be there needs to be finishing ability in order to differentiate yourself and break you away from the pack.
Yeah, this is another one where we saw really good rear naked choke defense. Like, because I'm pretty sure Jose was saved by the bell. With a good rear naked choke, he was pulling the arm down really well. So good on him. That's maybe the last thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that as a broader point in the sport, to be able to have that ability is so clutch, because when you are in that rear naked choke position, man, that like, especially if they have you out at the center of the cage, you know what I mean? If you're away from the cage, you've got nowhere to turn to. You are in deep waters without a life preserver. So being able to fight the hands, being able to keep that neck down. And I mean, there's a lot of times now we're seeing guys with enough power that the neck crank is enough. I mean, we've seen it all the way as far back as when it happened to Conor McGregor. But I mean, the neck crank can still do you in, so it's not like it's a get out of jail free card. But to be able to break the lock, to be able to fight the hands and break the lock altogether is something that is going to be very, very key for fighters going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep that. Very important. All right, moving on. We got Brady Heastand versus Garrett Armfield. My dark horse pick coming through. I felt like $1,000,000 getting this one right.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I listened to a lot of people, you know, the Garrett Army, the Armfield Army, whatever they're called. I figured they wouldn't let me down. And you know, right when that fight started, man, that plus 240, that looked way too good for me to pass up on Brady. So happy that he got, but the stream, oh my goodness, stream went to shit. I mean, my pay-per-view, like cable went out when I was watching the pay-per-view. That shit was ridiculous. I kept coming back and he was in a sub or something, and then I come back and he's on the ground, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no. And then I come back and the ref stopped it,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
won money. So
Right
hey,
on.
it is
Yeah,
what
no,
it
it
is.
was it was a good back and forth. I mean, as you had mentioned earlier, Brady got rocked. I mean, you know, he took a couple of pretty strong shots there. Whether those gloves are the deciding factor or not, it remains to be seen. But yeah, under different circumstances, those shots could have knocked somebody out for sure. Because I mean, he was looking pretty wobbly for a minute. You know, he definitely did the wobble wobble, go for the legs. You know.
Yeah.
The instant level change they call it. But good on him to stay with it. Brady has shown so much improvement since his time on The Ultimate Fighter, because I watched his entire season on The Ultimate Fighter. I always thought that he was a guy that had potential, needed to work on rounding out the edges a little bit. He's getting better. I don't necessarily know if he's getting to elite levels yet. You know what I mean? Like that performance definitely didn't scream like, oh, all of the pieces are in place now, like all of the stars have aligned. But, with each fight, he's making small improvements here and there. I mean, he's only got the 2 losses on his record. I think that Brady could have a really nice run.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah. And so, for Garrett Armfield, I mean, I would think that, like, if he's got that power, really, for him, I think that mixing it up is probably a better strategy than trying to do the old strike takedown type of deal. Because I think that he was mixing it up in ways that looked okay, but I think that overall, if he's got the power to, like, I mean, go in and you play to your strengths, is what I would say to him. Because obviously there are situations you get yourself in where things cannot go your way, as this fight proved. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but good fight. I liked it, and I'm glad that Brady won.
Yeah.
All right, on to this one. This one was a fun one. Timothy Kwamba versus Lucas Almeida. Talk about a performance for Almeida, man. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where I should know just about everybody that is kind of new, or is at least on their second fight kind of deal.
Yeah.
Lucas Almeida, I didn't know anything about this guy, but he was letting it fly. He put him down a couple different times. I'm surprised he didn't finish it. They only gave him 1 knockdown.
That's why I was just going to say
nuts.
that. I was like, that is bullshit, dude. He absolutely had him knocked down at least twice.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. He showed some levels to the striking, and it wasn't even like, bro, I said this about the women's fight, and this is kind of, this was a very technical fight, but it wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary. Like, he was just throwing basic stuff, and Timmy he just couldn't catch up. He was just getting rocked. It's just how it was.
And I mean, I didn't know too much about Kwamba, but I think that he was a decently high favorite, if I recall. And I'm like, based on the output from Almeida, I mean, 220 strikes. I mean, he landed the 91. I mean, I would like it didn't equal up to the line whatsoever. I mean, I wasn't seeing the greatness that the odds makers were seeing, I guess. I mean, he showed a little bit towards the end. He came back a little bit at the end. He was starting to kind of put it together a little bit later, which is fine. I mean, you didn't get finished, and that's a good. It's better than the alternative. But overall, as you said, I mean, Almeida just really fundamentals. Just won the game. I mean, it was really a nice, kind of down the line, striking affair. I mean, he did his job well and got those couple of knockdowns. Yet another fight where it would have been really nice to see a finish.
Yeah, he definitely should have. I mean, and honestly, I think the judges were being a little generous with the 29-28s across the board. I mean, unanimous, I get that, but that should have been a 30. Yeah, that should have been a
I
30-25.
agree.
I'm like,
Yeah,
he whooped his ass.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, Timothy Kwamba, like I said, had a couple of decent moments towards the end where he was starting to figure it out a little bit, but it was I don't think that it was enough to swing that round. Yeah, I think that was a generous appraisal by the judges, but
Yeah, because
um,
I'm pretty sure he was dropped in round 2 and 3. So,
yeah.
however
What
that
did he get dropped in the third too?
I think he got dropped in the second and third, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was only the second.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm misremembering. I thought he might have gotten dropped in the first and second, but I could be misremembering that. But either which way, I mean, Almeida, like you said, just really a nice down the line performance.
I'm excited to see him again.
I mean, with a performance like that, and he's 15-3. I mean, that's like I'm surprised that that the name is not more ingrained in the memory at this point with a record like that. But I guess he's still finding trying to find the star power a little bit here when it comes to keeping himself in the conversation at higher levels.
He
So, yeah, I
kind
mean,
of reminds me of Rakic. The way that what I was watching, I could just paste over Rakic, and I was like that they have like a similar kind of style. Now Rakic, lost, but I see the vision. I see.
yeah. You broke up a little bit there at the end,
Oh
but
yeah. But either way, yeah, I see the good in Rakic. So Lucas Almeida, I'm excited to see more of.
got you. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking at the record now, it's like, he got a nice win over Mike Trezano, who is, that's a pretty big win. Pat Sabatini and Andre Fili, both decent people to lose to. So, coming back, after a couple of losses to get that win, you see that he does have the fundamentals there to really, do some decent work. I mean, based on this record now, looking into it a little bit deeper, I guess it really depends on the level of competition he's going up against. Because those guys are good losses, but both pretty goddamn decent strikers. So he might have to put a little bit more emphasis, a little bit more intention on some of those strikes when he's fighting guys who are a little bit more output heavy themselves. But he did get those knockdowns, so
he could have went for the finish after the second knockdown. Like once you knock him down a couple times, like you gotta know that the threat is like gone. Like you gotta go finish it. Make sure the judges don't screw you over. That didn't happen here, but it could happen in the next one if you don't go for the kill.
exactly, and that is absolutely the theme of this card. Going into this next fight as well. I mean, we talked about it earlier. I mean, it's in general, as I say it a million times, I'm a broken record, but it bears repeating. The intention always should be to be going for the finish. You any fight that you are in, you are there to finish the fight. Get the fight over with before it gets to the end. I mean, like, don't let it go the distance. If that not only should that always just be your aim, that is also what is going to set you apart from every other fighter on the roster who cannot finish. So, that should always be what you're looking for. But did you have anything else on Kwamba?
No, I'm right. We're done.
Yeah, gotcha. So going into this Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles Johns, another fight where I kind of felt that same way. Now a little bit different circumstances though, because Andrade was in it and throwing with pretty decent power up until the end. So I at least give Johns a little bit more leeway in that he might not have wanted to get into a firefight late when he knew that he was up on the cards. I mean that's. Like I said, it's a little bit of leeway that I'll extend to you. However, when Andrade is asking, he pulls the Max Holloway, and we get the Wish version.
That was the point I was gonna make. These dudes had the most boring fight ever, and they had the nerve to flex on each other at the end, going to the bell. Like they weren't even at 8 seconds. I can shit you not. Silva was flexing, walking backwards. And Miles Johns was doing his shit, emoting to the bell. And like, it's ridiculous because not one of them threw, like, you didn't even have the output to have a good performance. So you didn't, like, there's just no way you thought, like, this was the time. Like I'm showing out, like I'm doing good. And I know it's not like for the audience, like he's just trying to get into the fight or whatever, but like, dog, you're doing that when you should be swinging. Like that's the problem. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with Johns, it was pretty much textbook point fighting. I mean, like he was throwing and hitting and getting out and not getting hit. I mean, I mean, when he did get tangled up occasionally, he got the better of it and broke. And that was all that it was. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say it was that boring of a fight as you're describing. Personally, I mean, like I thought that it was okay, but it was just okay. I mean, and to be as far ahead as he was, and showing that he had some decent power when he was landing, because I mean, he did get Andrade off balance a time or two there. I mean, it wasn't he didn't have him like rock to the point of going out or anything, but I mean, like he was frustrating him. I think that's what ended up kind of getting to Andrade towards the end, and why he decided that he wanted to do the throwdown, even though it was so ridiculous that they even attempted it, if you can even call it an attempt. But that being said, I mean, he was getting a little bit frustrated, by the proficiency, I guess you can say, of Johns, but it really was just tap, 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 I mean, just throwing out a punch here, throwing out a punch there. It was like, bro, go in there and get the job done. Get the job done. That is your job.
the problem that I have with Miles Johns, and I'll make another comparison. This might be good or bad. I never watched Tyron Woodley, but every time I do, I always see him sitting back, just waiting for this one counter strike that's going to end it. And Miles Johns does the same thing. He just sits back and he just only counters. He may have a moment where he's pushing the pace, but like for the most part, he's just sitting there. And as towards the end of the fight, he even got rocked and he was kind of wobbling and he had to, start grappling and stuff. So like if you're going to do it, don't get rocked. I mean, don't show weakness in what you're trying to do. Like, I mean, Tyron Woodley got to a belt or whatever, right? Like, I mean, he did it well. Miles Johns is not that, and he's not putting people out either. So,
yeah, and it's interesting too, because Miles Johns just fought the homie Cody Gibson, and Cody, one of the really high level wrestlers. I mean, I class Cody as one of the the higher skilled wrestlers that even all things considered with his career and his record and everything. I mean, that dude is extremely, he locks in that body triangle. It's a problem, and Miles Johns was able to negate a lot of that. I mean, there was a decent amount of striking in that fight too, but still, I mean, so the point is that Johns can hang on the ground. I mean, it's not like he's a complete slouch there. Didn't really go for much of that. I mean, there was that one little bit, but like overall it was counter. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't an inspiring performance. It wasn't an inspired performance. And I think the Tyron Woodley comparison is pretty apt. But like you said, I don't think he's got the power shot that Woodley has. So, I mean, or if you do, show it. That's all. Because that's what I was saying. I mean, Vitz was making the point on the watch along. Oh, well, Andrade he was throwing with some decent power, so he didn't want to get knocked out towards the end when he knew that he had it in the bag. That, again, I'll extend that little bit of leeway to you. However, go and finish the fight. It looks so much better to get that knockout than to not, And then, like you said, to be flexing on the end, it just ends up leaving a sour taste in people's mouths. Like, bro, you're flexing on what?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, come on, Miles Johns, do a little bit better. That would have been an opponent that you probably should have been able to do that against. I mean, and that's not discounting Andrade's, tenacity or abilities, but 29-6 fighter, like, if you're really if you're about it, like that should be a dude that you shave off of the bottom of the rung,
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So that was co-main, but then in the main event, we talked last week about Louisville, and the early stoppage, in that fight, Cannonier versus Imavov, being somewhat disappointing. This disappointing for different reasons.
Yeah, this one, gosh, shout out to Perez, man. He was looking good. That first round, whether you want to say Tatsuro was taking it off, because there is 5, whatever. First round, you can't judge too much, but Perez was putting it down. He looked really sharp. Long combinations, landing, going to the body, going up top. He looked good to go. I was on, because I had Tatsuro money line, and then I also had him by submission in some. And then last second, I was thinking, oh, if it goes 5 rounds, I do think it favors Perez. So I had that one too. So I was kind of on the fence, a little biased towards both, but Perez really. I heard people say Tatsuro won round 1, but I totally disagree.
Who the fuck said that?
The Discord.
All right, Discord is on some shit.
Yeah, they missed this week. I'll tell you that one. They missed big time. But Perez was looking really good. Second round, you really saw Tatsuro turn it up. Like it was good outside of the first round. I was really like, God, he's being really conservative. He needs to have more output. Second round, gosh, his grappling is it is a lot better than we even thought. And the fact that he pulled off a move that we ain't never seen before, he's cooking. He's cooking. The camp knows all. And, I'm not even going to say that it was like foolproof 100%. Hey, he ended the fight. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Most fights end in injury. If they get finished, it's an injury. I mean, it does hurt. So that's a new submission in my book. I mean, fuck, I should have won when he started tapping. I'm not going to lie. But whatever.
Fair. Hey, that certainly one way to look at it. No, yeah, I mean, Vitz King made the point, and it is absolutely the truth. All of what Taira was doing in what ended up being the end of the fight was by his design. What the knee pop, not necessarily something that could have been predicted. However, he was in the backpack to begin with. So, I mean, you can't fault him for any of that. He was starting to turn the tides. I think that was my note based on all of this, was that I was sad that I didn't get to see more of what he was going to be doing later on in the fight now that he had turned it up, because as you mentioned, Perez was looking super sharp in that first round. They think that you got to be on some shit to be thinking that Taira won that first round.
People that I would consider some cookers in there, man. They said Taira won that first round and called me crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't know how you could possibly think that. I mean, Perez was the way more active fighter. Now, I guess you could say that not everything that he was throwing was landing, but I mean, bro, in that's all off of that. I mean, 81 thrown. Now, I guess it did even up a little bit more than I thought it was, but the numbers, I don't know. The numbers don't tell the story of that one to me, right? Because I mean, he was you could tell that he was hungrier at that point. I mean, like, he was definitely pushing the pace. He was controlling the distance. Now, to Taira's credit, he was composed as fuck. That was the note that we were saying on the watch along, was that he's in there, not letting any of it really bother him, which was good, but he needed to start getting out of second gear. It was a 5-round fight. I wasn't really even gonna say that it was a detriment, but it was a downed round.
Yeah.
So but then going into the second, he started to do that. And ended up in a in a backpack situation. They were out in the middle of nowhere when that happened.
I'm actually confused. They gave him 0 sub attempts. Did he not have Perez in an RNC that Perez got out of? And at the beginning of the second round, I'm pretty sure. And then Perez got up, and then he got on the backpack. I'm thinking
it sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know if maybe it wasn't full lock-in, because it was another one where I think he was just fighting it really nicely, right? I mean, like, it wasn't that the...
Well, it was another one that I was going to use as a point of good RNC, defense, especially because Perez, Pantoja by that.
Oh, was that... You broke up for a second there. Say that
last thing? No, I was gonna say I think he lost to Pantoja by an RNC.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that he was able to get out of this one was good for him. But then obviously not Perez, but Tatsuro was on his shit. He's locked in that backpack, and he had that, bro. I can't explain. Like, I know what he was doing with the move. He was obviously trying to topple him over, but like, bro, he just does shit. And you love to see creativity when people do stuff that you've never seen. It's good because obviously the opponent's not going to know what the fuck to do either. I'm over here and all. What do you think he's doing when you're on it? He's on your back and he's leaning, and
that was really impressive. I was enjoying that. It kind of makes you wonder why more people don't go for stuff like that, when, I mean, that's essentially what you're trying to do, right? I mean, like, I guess some people want to try to keep the backpack just to wear them out on the feet, but what's happening there is that you're wearing your legs out while you're doing that. So your goal really should be to get them to the ground. You have much more control, when they're not on their feet. So I mean, to utilize the body weight the way that he was doing was really, really cool. I was like, yo, that's a really cool cool technique that he's got going on there. And then the other note is that when he finally did get him to topple in what ended up being the fight-ending sequence, the note that sad but true is that Perez didn't fall very well. I mean, like he was trying to plant on that one leg, and that it like, bro, like you got to know that if you're going down, you can't, like, you know, you're I don't want to say you're asking for it. Of course you're not asking for it, but you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like when you're in that position, like you have to just kind of accept the fall because that what happens, you know?
I'll make the note also, the way that he fell, injury or not, had he not get injured, that fight was over. TR was gonna end it. He had the body lock on, like he was on Perez and he was gonna beat him up. Shout out to Tatsuro. He did stop. He didn't hit him. You know, he knew the fight was over. Obviously, he was probably hearing bro screaming.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that
like,
looked very, very painful.
It was a really hard angle to see, like a tap, because it was like under him and like he was doing it. So shout out to Tatsuro for not being an asshole. I
for
mean,
sure.
for that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, a note on the injury. I don't know if they've revealed. Did they say what all tore in there? I mean, yeah, I don't know if they've actually revealed all of what happened. You know, with the it looked like it was a meniscus kind of issue in there, ACL, MCL kind of thing, somewhere in the knee. I mean, damn, that really sucks for Perez, man. I would suspect that he's going to be out for quite a while with an injury like that. You know, it's going to be a little bit of a layoff for him. It's one of those unfortunate situations as well, because when you're that high in the title conversation, Taira's not because what I said on the watch along is that I think that it would be appropriate for them to run that back at some point if Perez maintains, you know, being relevant, maintains, you know, his status in the top 10. I think that would make sense, but I mean, now Taira's probably going to be challenging for title. I would think at some point, you know, if they gave Steve Erceg a fucking title shot, I would think that he's next up. You know, so it's an unfortunate deal because Perez is going to be out for a while. I would like to see that run back, based on all of the dynamics of the fight. You know, even if it was only those you know, that round and a half, those 2 rounds essentially. It was a pretty devastating injury, and I hope that I hope he's not out for too long, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he's been injured a couple different times. At this point, he's probably wondering, like, how do I avoid getting seriously injured every fight? Like, so he's got some thinking to do.
And you know, it's one of those situations that really, it just sucks. I mean, you know, you chop it a million different ways. All of them suck, because it reminds me a lot of Dominic Cruz. You know, I mean, considered by many to be, you know, one of the GOATs of the division, of his division. And with all of the injuries that he sustained, it's like it's always going to be a terrible what if, you know, and you don't want to see that. Perez, I mean, I don't know, you know, who could say if it would be a great what if or not. I mean, you know, he was looking pretty goddamn sharp that first round. I don't know, you know, I mean, but either way, it's an unfortunate way for the fight to end, and I wouldn't be expecting to see him in the octagon anytime soon with an injury like that.
For sure.
Yeah. So then now, I mean, we kind of touched on it, but are you thinking title shot for Tatsuro Taira?
I was actually thinking, I mean, you figure, assuming Pantoja just mobs, you get Mokaev next after he beats Manel, or Manel if he beats Mokaev. Then
that fight's confirmed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that one's been announced.
So then after that, I mean, if they're going to keep reaching down, why not Tatsuro? He'll probably have another fight between then. Hopefully he wins. And then after Tatsuro, Josh Van's on his way up. And I'm actually pretty sure this Cody Durden dude, custom made Cody Durden, he's on the lookout. We got to look out for him, because he's also going to be getting a shot here soon. He looks good.
You think so? Cody Durden, 15th ranked right now.
Yeah, soon. And then Kayakara France, he'll be out sometime. I don't know. He's falling out. He's falling off. And then Amir, that dude, he'll probably get a shot because he's been out for so long, and that's just what they do. They just give people shots when they've been out for so long. That's just how the fuck I said
it. Fair. I mean, the whole picture is kind of interesting right now after the Erceg fight, because it's like you've got a dude who was at the time ranked 10th or 11th, right? I mean, when he got that fight.
Yeah, 10th.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so he was ranked 10th when he got that fight.
crazy. He only went up one. Wow, I just
Yeah,
noticed that.
still good to go up after a loss. I mean, props to him. It well deserved for that. But so that being said, you've got the rest of this division that's kind of like sort of in a weird little bit of a gridlock. You've got Albazi, like you said, who's been out for a little minute. Kai Kara France, does he even have a fight scheduled? I mean, what they're trying to save him for
Hopefully
Perth? Yeah,
Yep.
I would say Perth, right? So I mean, he needs to get active, like because like exactly what you said. He's not dropped off as far as the numbers go. He's not dropped off as far as like the conversation necessarily, but it feels like he has because he just haven't been in the fucking cage for a minute,
Yeah,
So
you can get lapped real easy in this sport. I like that.
absolutely, and this division especially too. These guys, the cardio machine guys, these guys are like ready to fight. Like they are wanting to be active and stuff. I mean, like it's surprising to me that you don't. I guess because of the marketability of the flyweight division, you don't have necessarily the knockouts, so they're not trying to push them as much. But with the stamina and the ability that a lot of these guys have, it's surprising to me that you don't see like more motion in the division on a regular basis.
That's true. That's a good point.
But regardless, so yeah, I mean, Taira now will be coming in probably at fifth, or I mean, with what we've just said about Kai Kara, he might even be coming in at fourth. It'd be interesting to see when the numbers get updated. These haven't been updated yet.
It's just really frustrating to see the numbers. So you're like, okay, Tatsuro just beat Perez. He jumps over the dude who just lost in a close matchup for the title. And then you have Matisse Nicolau, who just got knocked out by the dude who is fifth that just got finished due to injury. It's crazy. Why is Nicolau over Stevie Erceg still? That one is actually pissing me off to see.
Fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that all of these really need a little bit of a shakeup at this point. Ulanbekov being a ranked fighter and missing weight like that should drop him down, in my opinion. I mean, there's a couple of guys in here that probably like this needs a little bit of an overhaul. It would appear, at least from the perspectives that we're having. But yeah, I don't see any reason why you don't give Taira the title shot. I mean, I think from the organization's point of view, it makes a lot of sense. They're trying to court the Japanese fans. It's amazing to me that Japan is not more represented in the UFC currently.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
I think that they're trying to make a push for that with the Ryzen guy that just got signed as well. That's another,
True.
Another move in that direction. So, yeah, I think that the title shot would make sense for him. I guess it really is going to come down to, because I mean, and also, you still got Brandon Moreno, even though he's retired, he's taking a little bit of a break right now, but he's still just kind of stalking around in the 2 slot. So, I mean, you got to drop him down a little bit too, right? I mean, like, that's when we're just kind of going back to the whole overhaul thing we were just talking about. It's like there's a whole lot going on in here that seems like it should be a lot different,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that one. And what sucks is like you'll never see it. They'll never just like flip the script on the rankings. Like it's gonna tally up and make sense that Steve Erceg has to go up only like 5 or 4 or whatever. But the fact that it's this messed up, at least in my opinion, also like it's rough. Brandon Royval is still the number 1 ranked guy. Like,
yeah, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking. Yeah, I don't know about all that. I mean, yeah, I think that after the cop fight, that's gonna hopefully be a little bit of a catalyst to start getting this division in a little bit of better order here. Because that fight, whoever wins that fight's probably. I mean, yeah, they're definitely gonna overtake. Well, no, I mean, yeah, okay, so Tyra's 5th now. I guess if it's a decisive good win, they could probably hopscotch him. Taira still gets the title shot, probably.
Well, I'm actually now looking at it because now that I do realize Brandon Royval is still the number 1 contender, we may get another rematch with Pantoja at some point. I mean, the rankings are there for a reason. They play the sport how it goes. The number 1 guy not always gets the shot, but Merab's the number 1 guy getting it.
I don't know though. I don't know if that last fight. I mean, it wasn't like a knockdown drag out. So yeah, I mean, it was close-ish. I would think that Royval probably has to fight one of these guys that we're talking about. I mean, like maybe the winner
title eliminator.
Yeah, title eliminator probably. Either that or just let him fight Taira for the instead of Taira getting the title shot, have that be the actual title eliminator. Or the winner of Mokaev versus Kopp as the title eliminator. Honestly, Royval, I don't know if he really should be number one after that last fight. I mean, like I said, it wasn't like he got like starched, but you know, it was a win for Pantoja. You know, and I mean, how many times are you going to keep throwing title shots at? Because that's now the second time that they fought, and the third, right? Or was that a
Probably
trilogy?
the third.
I think that might have been the third for Pantoja and Royval. So I mean, you know, either second or third, regardless. The point is that they fought before. You know, fresh blood in the division is necessary here, and you've got some guys who really are gunning for it. I mean, you know, Mokaev really is trying to make his jump. I mean, I think that one of these hungrier guys goes in and needs to be the next one up. And really, I think that it's after that, it's going to be a good indicator of where Pantoja really stands. Because if you think about the history of Pantoja as a champion, the Brandon Moreno quadrilogy that was a massive amount of time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, you know, that goes up back like so goddamn far. So now, you know, he's got a defense under his belt here. It's like, if you take Brandon Moreno out of the equation, where is the reality at this point, you know?
I agree. Yeah,
he was locked into that. It was like a deadlock for so goddamn long. It's like now we got to see what the rest of the division like actually offers for legitimate competition in that regard.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that was the UFC Fight Night. Perez versus Taira. Unfortunate end to that fight, but still a good, you know, showing overall of Taira's potential ability to be in that top 5 and to be hanging with the big boys. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to him going forward. 16-0. You know, the O it doesn't matter as much in MMA, but it's still nice to have.
Cool.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, because it is the most pressing information that came out last week. I'm definitely going to be breaking this down in a little bit greater detail on the next Yama episode. But the next 2 cards, not one, but the next 2 cards on the schedule, both had their main events changed and a whole bunch of other shenanigans. Yeah, what do you think about all this shit going on in these shakeups?
Brother, I don't even care anymore. You know, I think recency bias. You know, you always think the most recent is, you know, the worst, but like you guys must be going through this every year. UFC fans must be going through all this bullcrap, all this bullshit. People pulling out, fights not going through for some odd reason. Even, you know, weigh-in days. Like we see fights get flipped the day before. Like it's really kind of crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, to catch everybody up to speed, basically the next fight night is the Saudi Arabia card. The main event was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker. Khamzat Chimaev apparently got food poisoning. That is crazy to me. Based on all of the... Yeah, go ahead.
I want to note, he got it last week. You don't think 2 weeks? You don't think a week or so you'd be okay? Like...
The whole thing is strange to me because, so based on the pictures that were coming out, he was like hospitalized and he was puffy in the face and he's looking all kinds of like, you know, near death situation over here. And this,
I heard comments that it was a children's hospital too, that there was like kiddie drawings on the wall. So that was really funny too.
Yeah. Well, all right. That aside, that is a funny note, but that aside, I mean, like the fact that he, I mean, regardless, whatever, let's say that it was a crazy illness of some sort. The guy is illness prone, it seems like. And I mean, these prime years are wasting away for him. You know, he was the wrecking ball coming in, fighting back to back on like, you know, a week's notice, whatever, one card to the next. The guy is, going through like a steamroller. And then all of a sudden these, the illnesses start to add up. And then he's, you know, he's pulling out, he's got to change. He's not making weight. The guy is inconsistent, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's not even, you know, those are all factors. The weight missing, the illnesses, the immune system, whatever you want to say. But it's also the fact that he can only fight in specific areas. And he's a big time target. Like they have to go places that he can go, and he has to be on the cards that are big. He can't just do a fight night in America.
Oh, is he not? Is he like on the no-fly list?
Apparently, he's friends with a dictator or something. Hey, I'm not.
Well, yeah, he's friends with Kadyrov, but I mean that I think that there are a couple of guys who are, you know, at least not unfriendly that that are able to fight elsewhere. But I don't know. I mean, if that's part of it, then that's so legit.
Well, I mean, it's seeming to make sense to me. He's only fought on the Saudi card since I've been around.
The card versus
Diaz. What was that?
Yeah, that was gonna say that card. Okay. That was that fight. The Diaz card. Where was that?
No, that was Kevin Holland. That was Kevin Holland and.
Oh right,
but even the one before that, I'm curious to know now because I haven't done my own research. Never do.
Winging it as always. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, we take word of mouth.
Well, you're getting the word from the street over here. You know, that's
facts.
Take it as you will.
Where was he at?
So
Las Vegas. There's one. One.
He fought Gilbert in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So you know,
I'll give it to him. I give it to him. He's fought in other places that are not Saudi Arabia, but most of them, I'm seeing a lot of Abu Dhabi. I'm seeing a lot of Abu Dhabi.
Jordan, India, I know you're cooking on that. I mean, it's true.
He needs to fight more. That's just what it comes down to. If he's gonna get sick now, he needs to be fighting in fucking September. He needs to be fighting on another fucking card. Because now I see the proof that it ain't the fucking visa problems. He can get here. He just don't want to.
Yeah, and really, I mean, the thing about Khamzat that I've been noticing since, a while back, since the Gilbert Burns fight, really, is that I don't think he is the end-all scary monster that everyone is making him out to be. I mean, we saw that in the Kamaru Usman fight. He was, gassed out pretty early. I mean, Usman did exactly what you need to do against him. Everybody was saying if that was a 5-round fight, things could have been a lot different. If he's talking about being, the big bad boogeyman over here. I just don't see it when fighters are able to figure out the style, which I think that they already have.
Yeah, no, he's cooked. I'm just hype train is his aura. It's losing.
Exactly. Yeah. The aura is fading for sure. And this does not help. So food poisoning, whatever the hell it is. Robert Whittaker was without a dance partner. Ikram Aliskerov was supposed to fight on the card that we just reviewed. He got that fight pulled away, and he is now fighting Robert Whittaker in the main event. What do you think about that?
I think the odds are way too close for diehard fans of the sport. I'm sure they know Robert Whittaker has got this in the bag. But the fact that it's a coin flip is pretty nuts to me. Like, there's just no reason to have this faith in somebody who the fight that he was supposed to have. I just want to make a note against a dude who was popping roids on the Contender Series, got a no contest, went to a different league, got a submission win over somewhere ever else, and then got a co-main event slot against Ikram. They were lobbing it to him. They were giving him a lob, and now they're giving him a real test. And I respect him for that, and I respect the flip. Being able to just say, all right, fuck it. And I will note that the dude that he was supposed to fight picked up the phone and heard that he didn't have a fight anymore and probably not going to be back in the UFC. So I'll make that note.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It didn't make this card better. It didn't make it worse. No, it made the next card way better. All the changes, but this one
we'll get to that one too. But so when it comes to Ikram getting this level of competition, I mean, the thing that I thought was kind of funny was, and I mean, this is not it doesn't color the whole conversation, but just a note to be made. I was on YouTube and I saw the free fight pop up. They put out the free fights, for cards coming up to see the fighters in action that are fighting. And the free fight that they put up was him versus Phil Hawes, which was a short fight and was a nice win for him, but it was against Phil Hawes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was I don't Aliskerov has not had a test like Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is a figure of the sport for a reason. You know what I mean? So will I say that it's completely in the bag? I mean, Rob has surprised me in some of his losses for sure. I didn't necessarily think that he was going to pull off the Paulo Costa win the way that he did. So I mean, and you know how I feel about Paulo Costa. So I mean, it's like Rob can be somewhat spotty, but he is a goddamn dog, and I don't think that there's any way that Aliskerov is walking through Robert Whittaker. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, and Ikram, I talked about it with a lot of people. He's got the frame. It's made to gas out in the 5-round fight. Robert Whittaker's it might go to decision, and I'm okay with that. But I think Robert Whittaker wins that one very convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, I got to ride with Rob on that one. It would be haram to to go against Rob, especially with the switch up and the short notice element of it and everything. I mean, what Rob said though, and one thing that is, I guess, something to note is that Rob said that he was slightly disappointed in the changeup only because he had trained a very specific fight and a very specific game plan for Hamzat, which is exactly what you have to do because Hamzat has a very specific method of fighting.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what adjustments he's going to be able to make on the fly against a different opponent on short notice. But that being said, Robert Whitaker has the experience to. I mean, he's going to make those adjustments. I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah, for sure. No, this one's easy.
Yeah, for sure. So, and before, I mean, we usually go through and do the breakdowns of the card. We can do that, but before we do, I think it's important to talk about the next card that also had its main event switched up, and that would be UFC 303, which was supposed to be the epic return of Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. That fight has been postponed. We'll see if that is actually true or not. Now it is Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska in the main event, and also the co-main event has changed on this card as well.
And the one after that.
And
Jamal
the one after
Hill
that too.
is out. Anthony Smith is in. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. The matchmakers know exactly what we want. Mick and Hunter and Shelby, whatever the names are, you guys know. And then Yuri and Alex. I'm not surprised Yuri would have stepped up on short notice. Alex, I was kind of surprised. But like he said himself, he is the Poton. Like he's got this.
The thing that I thought was interesting about that is that I mean, Yuri stays in shape. Yuri is constantly training. He really,
I don't think he cuts weight.
Yeah, really, I don't. Yeah, if it is, it's minimal at most. I mean, he's all of that discipline ninjutsu shit that he that he follows the Bushido code and all that stuff. He really does live it. So I mean, whether or not you think it's real or positive to his game plan as a fighter, that really doesn't matter as much to the fact that he believes it and he lives by it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And what does surprise me though is that he's getting this fight at all after the fight that they had previously. As you're well aware, I'm sure out there this is a rematch for the belt between Pereira and Prohaska.
Yeah, it's less than a year ago too, so it's
right.
It's kind of crazy. Ankalaev though, it seems like he didn't want to fight, and the UFC's business, they gotta churn in that butter, so they needed a fight. They asked two people and the fight was made. I mean, that's really all it was.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. So they did offer it to Ankalaev.
I mean, I would assume. I mean, Ankalaev was saying before all this, he doesn't want to fight Alex until, after the summer or sometime in like October, around that area. So I would assume it was on the table, or maybe it was the second option. They maybe knew Yuri was going to be game. So
yeah, I'd be interested to know if they did offer it to him, and if he, the weight, all that aspect of it played a factor. Perhaps, I don't, whatever the details are there. Either which way, I mean, when you're putting together a fight on short notice like that, I guess you kind of do have to go with the least worst option. So it's not like this fight doesn't make any kind of sense. I'm not saying that Yuri doesn't deserve to be in it. At some point, but it is kind of surprising that it's now and all again for the belt. I mean, after their last fight, I don't know if it's necessarily, warranted, but again, last resort, least worst option. I guess it does make sense in that regard. But that all being said, I mean, I really do kind of see it being, pretty much a mirror of the last fight between them. I mean, but if you're going off of previous performances for both of these guys, Alex's performances were knockout, and Yuri's performances were strike nicely, never check a leg kick in your goddamn life. I didn't see anything different out of either guy.
Yeah, it's really just fill in a pay-per-view. You both know what to expect and just go out there and have fun.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I mean, good. Glad that they got the card saved. And I'm going to keep it chill tonight. I'm not going to go into my full on yelling about mixed martial arts Yama mode here, but I've got a ton to say on the next episode, so tune in for that if you want my full thoughts on it. But I am so sick and fucking tired of this goddamn McGregor Chandler fight. I want it to be over so fucking bad. I cannot. That and John Jones versus Stipe or whoever the fuck. I just want these fucking, these millionaire egomaniacs to get their swan song fights and get the fuck out of here already, dude. I am sick and tired of the dynamic that they create in this sport.
No, yeah, I 100%. Yeah, I just get it over with.
Exactly. Just fucking pull the goddamn Band-Aid on these guys already. I'll go into more detail on the Yama episode, but as we said, this was supposed to be Conor's return. The fight has been postponed. They're saying the injury that Conor sustained, theoretically, and at least the way that it's being presented, is not so bad that he's going to be out for a long period of time. They're saying it should be, I think, 2 to 3 months was the number I had heard. So if that's the case, then we'll see if that fight ever does materialize. But I'm just it's annoying. It's just fucking annoying at this point. I want it over with. Be it done. I mean, how many more cards need to be fucked up? And and again, it goes to John Jones as well. As I talked about it on the USADA episode that I did. Having an entire event moved from Vegas to California. It's like, how many times do these big name stars have to fuck things up for the organization before they finally say, cost benefit analysis, this is not working for us anymore?
I think another good point to make is that they threw out the idea that they'll just make another pay-per-view. They'll just add another one to the schedule for this card. And that be the case. And then they fuck up again. Like, now you're adding events that are falling through that people are again paying money to go to that are not getting fulfilled.
Yeah, well, and that's what I had said on the last Yam episode, that a lot of those people who are paying 10 grand for lower bowl seats are feeling pretty goddamn foolish right now. And a lot of people have been getting refunds from what I've heard. I've seen a couple of posts in the discussion groups, people saying, "Yeah, I got my 303 refund."
There's a good case for it.
Absolutely. And so, so anyway, we'll touch on that more when that fight comes. Let's run this card down just a little bit here, talk about some of the stuff that looks interesting to us for this Saudi Arabia card, because this actually is a pretty stacked fight night.
Yeah, I think the first person that I want to look out for is this Reinat dude.
Oh yeah, Fakhretdinov, yeah.
I thought I wanted to look at his record and see a bunch of KOs, but I am, but more recently decisions and submissions. So maybe I'm not too sold on him, but he is somebody that the fight may be interesting. Don't know much about Dalby. Maybe I've seen him fight though.
Dalby is I believe, Swiss fighter or Danish fighter.
Denmark,
yeah, from Denmark. Yeah, he had a really nice unexpected victory by a lot of people against Gabriel Bonfim. That's Bonfim, the Bonfim brothers, surging names in the sport. So that was one that he was supposed to lose on a lot of people's cards and in their minds. Got a nice win over Bonfim on a 4-fight win streak. Now that's definitely a one to watch out for sure.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for him. Shout out Bloomis in the Discord. We got the Danish
Hell
flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got our Danish flag.
Yeah, Bloomis is the homie for real. But that's definitely one to look out for. Nasrat Haqparast versus Jared Gordon. I really like that fight. I like a lot of these fights, actually. I'm saying this card is
my
good.
Guy right there. Haqparast is my guy. I'll lose so much money on this guy. I think he's so talented when it comes to
his striking and really crisp.
And he knocked out Jamie Malarkey, so I'm not going to go ahead and assume that he's going to knock anybody else out, especially Jared Gordon. Now, that's the dude that lost to Patty, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
he won his last fight, though.
Okay. So I'm going to take Haqparast, probably by decision, because that's what he does. He's a point striker. But that's fine by me because it looks beautiful.
Yeah, he beat Mark Madsen, the Olympic wrestler there. That was a nice fight. But yeah, I also am going for Haqparast on this one. His striking is really, really nice when he's in the pocket. When he's on, he's on. He's one of those kind of guys. He turns the switch on and he's looking pretty sharp. All right. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on for sure. Okay, so go ahead and this is the bullet here, Shara Putin Magomedov. A lot of people were seeing the Bruno Silva fight that he had a lot differently than I was, apparently. I mean, I was hearing it in the Discord left and right about how great this guy was doing on the ground and how it wasn't that.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. I really.
He's got good strike on his back. That's it. But I know what you're talking about. I do not agree that Sharaputin is good on the ground. He gets taken down way too easily, especially from being Russian. You should have some takedown defense. That's what y'all do. And he gets taken down very easily. And then he is active off his back, but in the scorecard to the judges, that's not a factor. So whatever he's doing is not really helping his case because it's not powerful strikes. It's just annoying. It's just a nuisance.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I go back to the card that he fought on last, which is a while ago now too, by the way. I mean, like that's another thing to kind of factor into this whole thing. He hasn't fought in a while. I mean, that's going on.
He's got that same kind of issue where he's only wanting to fight in the desert.
Yeah, for sure. But so that being said, I mean, you know, that was his debut in the organization, and I remember all of the hype that was surrounding him when he was coming into the organization. There was that image of him, you know, on the scale where, you know, it was that the contrast was really high and his abs were all popping out and everything. You know, so like the hype was very heavy on him, and I just remember sitting there watching that fight, just with, you know, my mouth agape, like, this is this guy that everybody thinks is this world crusher. This dude is going to come in and maul the entire division. This dude is barely skating by, or, you know, barely getting himself to a win here. So that being said, he is fighting a dude who does not have a profile picture and is 38-9. Talk about a fucking feeder.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the one where Shara shows out, assuming the gloves do not hinder a performance. I say we see a Shara knockout, but it'll probably be by like a head kick or something. I've seen some clips of him doing some pretty slick head kicks. Shara's got some really good striking. I'm not going to argue that, but when it comes to the wrestling, you get exposed, and it's something that got exposed very early on. Your literal first fight in the fucking organization. The fact that Bruno Silva was able to do that to you and hold you down and make you have negative effect on, or, you know, neutral effect on the judges. Like, it's telling. I don't care what the striking numbers look like. I do believe this Jolton dude is going to stand and strike with him, but that's because they're lobbing him up.
Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know what to expect from Joelton Santos. You know, I mean, with a record like that and coming in, you know, against an undefeated fighter in Saudi Arabia, it does seem like a goddamn softball over here. But can Shara get, you know, a knockout in the way that you're describing? It's certainly possible. I guess it just depends on what, if any, opposition he's going to be facing and how much leeway he has. We've talked in the past about fighters being blank canvases. This has the potential to be that for him. So as you said, this could be the one where he shows out. If the dude coming in is, you know, a guy that is not going to be throwing crazy stuff at him and gives him the leeway to kind of stunt a little bit, then, you know, by all means go for it. I mean, 38-9, he has gotten a lot of wins, but it's like, I mean, that's, you know, a record like that against an undefeated fighter in Saudi Arabia, all of these factors would lead me to believe that this is Can Crusher territory. And I mean, it sounds crazy when you're talking about a dude who has 38 wins, but I think that I've made the point pretty clear.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see what happens with Mr. Bullet there.
All right, first fight on the main card: Johnny Walker and Volkan Oezdemir.
You were saying that you think that Johnny Walker is going to come out and do some shit here, huh?
I think he probably will. He's the type of guy that loses and then wins, and then just loses and wins, and then he'll lose in a very funny way, but then he'll come out and win in a very interesting way that you're like, holy shit, this dude is actually skilled. No wonder he's like what rank is this dude? He's pretty fucking high. Hold on.
Yeah, he's up there actually, which was surprising to me because I remember thinking that too. Yeah,
like, this will be a fight where we remember like, oh, Johnny Walker is a top talent. Like, oh, he does know how to like throw fucking punches and kicks and does know how to fight. Like, but we'll see. And then he'll get matched up with, you know, like Khalil Roundtree when he comes back and get knocked out. Like that's just what he does.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty accurate assessment, I would say. I mean, you know, Volkan Oezdemir is one of those guys that I think also has the potential to pull off a nice win if he does. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where it's really a matter of what version of each of these guys shows up. Johnny Walker coming off of that very nasty knockout that he just got. You know, I don't know if his nose is going to look the same this go around after what he went through there, but yeah, I think that you're calling it pretty correctly. This is another one of those ones that we talk about fraud checks. You know, every fight is a fraud check to an extent. I would say that this is kind of one of those ones that Johnny Walker really needs to win in order to, you know, stick around where he's at, you know,
keep his rank around 7, you know, top 10,
right.
You know, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if he does lose this fight though, then yeah, that throws the trajectory off pretty heavily, because that'll end up being back-to-back losses, with one of them at least being a knockout in a, you know, pretty bad one. So, you know, we'll see what ends up happening with Mr. Walker, but I think that you're right. I mean, he's one of those guys that like you said, he fucks around and gets a win. So it's possible. Just got to see what Vulcan shows up.
All right. Fucking Kevin Gastelum and Daniel Rodriguez. If Kevin Gastelum looks like he did against Sean Brady, I probably will cry, because I'm going to put money on him. I got to. That's my guy. But minus 250, you better get this motherfucker done. I'll put the twins on a bet. We'll get Perez and Kevin Gastelum in a parlay. They'll cook up for me. I promise.
I mean, I would tend to agree with that. Kelvin Gastelum is a dude who I've always kind of had problems with for multiple reasons. He's a very talented fighter when he's on. He's a very tough dude. He's got a really decent chin. But he's, you know, the weight miss issues were always kind of a thing where I was like, man, you know, if this dude can ever even make weight, you know, like maybe we'll see him perform. And then, you know, to be a little bit spotty here and there is, you know, like also playing a factor in all of it, but he's another guy that can get a good win. So it's like, you know, and really at this point, Kelvin Gastelum needs to fucking make a goddamn decision whether or not he wants to fucking be a contender or not. Cause it's like, bro, you know, you're patchy, you know, all the stuff that I just laid out, all those things are not boding well for you to, you know, to continuing on into the higher echelons and going back for another title shot if that's what you want. If you're cool with being a mid-level guy, then, you know, yeah, go and get a win over Daniel Rodriguez and stay middle. But if you're really trying to like be elite, you know, it's really what separates, you know, the fighter from the elite fighter. You know, like it's that difference in the fighters that makes so much of a difference when you get higher up in the rankings, because you know what the top of that division looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so this is one where like if he really turns, you know, like in a positive direction and like you know, can get a nice win, because yeah, he on paper should absolutely beat Daniel Rodriguez. I would say so. D-Rod coming off of popping, you know, recently. Well, that's also something to keep in mind. Not happy about that. But you know, that aside, I mean, this is a fight that Kelvin Gastelum should win. If he does not win it, I think that really that to me, that's like kind of a death knell as far as any, you know, hopes of him being, you know, considered in the elite again. Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, but and on the other side of the equation, Rodriguez could make a really big statement with that one. So, you know, it kind of has implications on both sides. So it's definitely one to watch out for sure.
Cool.
And co-main, we've got Sergey Pavlovich coming back after his loss to Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, this one. Oh yeah, versus Alexander Volkov. My bad. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
but,
go ahead.
Yeah, this one. At first, I would like to believe that if it got down to it, Volkov could submit, you know, Sergey. I would like to believe that. But gloves aside, I'm taking Ivan Drago. I think this dude's a beast. He's a killer.
Well, okay. So when it comes to the submission game, what I have heard time and time again, and I'm telling you, bro, I feel like the organization and some of the commentary team just says shit to say shit sometimes. You know what I mean? Because like what I've heard time and time again is Sergey Pavlovich is an amazing wrestler. He just doesn't need to wrestle all that much because he's got so much power in his hands.
Yeah.
That did not look like the case to me versus Tom Aspinall. I mean, like, now, you know, granted, didn't go there, but like, yeah. You would have thought that there would have been some flex of that anywhere in any of his fights. You know what I mean? Like now, the Tom Aspinall fight, maybe not necessarily the best example, but going back to any of his fights that have gone longer than the first round, you would have thought that you'd seen him mixing it up at all if he's this really high level proficient wrestler, which, everyone's claiming that he is. So
yeah, for sure. I was going to say, I mean, if you want to use the Tom Aspinall fight, we've seen people who get rocked and they have the instinct to just shoot for the legs. Sergey didn't have that. And he got rocked and then put down and then beat up. So there's that. There's just a point to make. I mean,
right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I mean. And in any of the other fights, now granted, he does have extreme knockout power. We know that for sure. However, there you would think that if any fight where he is, because like some of his other fights, let's go back even beyond the Aspinall fight. Like going in, had they all been? Yeah, no, he just has. Yeah, so I mean, like he's going back all the way down. Yeah, I guess they all just have been first round. I don't know. My point is, I guess, is that if the wrestling is there, then it's probably going to have to be on display against Volkov. So I mean, I guess we'll see. What you're saying is absolutely true. I think Volkov has a great amount of proficiency in that department for a heavyweight. So it certainly is possible. I just haven't seen Pavlovich ever give me any indication that he's got wrestling ability.
Yeah, I mean, but like you saw with the record, he don't need it, man. He's got iron for hands, and he knows how to throw them, and he's really good. I mean, I ain't seen a very large sample size, but I see the videos. He got some hands for a big dude.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like you said, the record shows that all those first rounders. Yeah, all right. I mean, then fair enough. I guess it just goes back to my main point with heavyweights in general is I just think that heavyweights need to be more well-rounded, because if you sit back on the knockout power as your only weapon, that there are situations that you're going to end up in with different fighters. Because I mean, really, dude, I this is going to sound crazy, and I know how crazy this sounds. I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
He might be in jeopardy of getting submitted by Jailton Almeida. I know how crazy it sounds.
No, that's not crazy. I mean, Jailton Almeida can sub every heavyweight that we have right now.
So there you go. That's my point. It's like, so now, but the counter argument is, he'll just go in and knock him out, so it won't be an issue. Bro, if the dude gets a single leg on you and can get you to the ground, shit changes very fast at heavyweight when you get taken down.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with a lot of these fighters. I'll believe it until I don't. So if Sergey's coming out here knocking everybody out, I'll have faith that he can go out here and do it again. But he doesn't really want to. This fight they didn't really want. This is the fight that they just made, and they didn't necessarily want it. So maybe different intentions, different level of play, but it doesn't look like Sergey steps into play much. So he looks like he's ready to bomb and move on. Like even with the Aspinall fight, he was ready to stand and trade. Like he wasn't doing any bullshit. He was right in his face, and he got caught bad. So
yeah, fair enough. So then, do you think that Volkov is just going to go straight heavy with the wrestling from the jump?
No, I think they'll strike, and then if it gets a little like if Volkov gets rocked, which he probably will, maybe he'll like reach in and try to wrestle a little bit. But no, I see Sergey just ending it quick.
Fair. All right, there you go. And we talked about the main event. I think that we're riding pretty heavy with Rob Whittaker. Is there anything about Alaskarov that you're thinking could be a wild card in all of this? Any kind of, something that Rob might not see coming?
Rob's been a little chinny lately. Last couple fights, he's been rocked. I mean, Dricus finished him, didn't he?
Yeah, he absolutely did.
And then, you had the wheel kick from Paulo. I mean, it's not out of this realm to say Alaskarov hits him with something and Rob wobbles. But he ain't been finished. Well, Dricus, but he didn't get finished by Paulo. So, there was an upside. He's on his way up. I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of becoming slightly like the ultimate gatekeeper, which I hope that is not the case. I'd love to see him, get the belt. I'm a big fan of Rob Whittaker. I think that he's proven time again that he deserves to stay in that conversation. He's clinging to that number 3 like nobody's business,
Yep.
Yeah, I think that I guess the reason that I ask is because I think that that's going to be the what could be the deciding factor if Alaskarov is going to get the win is something that is just unexpected from Rob. You know, like, I mean, I think if it's a straight, you know, down the line kind of performance, Rob is very technically sound. I think that he's fast enough to be able to get out of the way of a good amount. Like, he has been caught a couple times here and there, so it's going to have to be something that's coming a little bit out of left field that he's not expecting.
True. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. So we will be back to recap all of that. Anything else going on in the sport that we need to talk about? Any other pertinent information that's been going on? I know the Discord is always popping off with some new shit.
No, nothing really to note on. I mean, if you're not in the Discord, obviously figure out how to get the link and join that.
Absolutely. Make sure that you are part of the MMA Hive. It is the place to be. The conversation is always on point around there. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back next Monday to recap all of these fights. Yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to be making sure to get that Yama episode out as soon as possible. I'm going to be writing the rest of the script right after we're done with this stream right now. So get that script finished up, have the video out sometime this week. YouTube.com/@YamaShow, @YamaShow on all of the streaming platforms of your choice, all social media. It's Yama Show. Make sure that you follow me. Chase, where can they find you, my friend?
YouTube.com/@CP Smalls. That should be pretty easy. The
There
Twitter,
you go.
@CreativePlayer. You know, if you can find that one, that's a good one too.
Hell yeah. Make sure that you're following my dude. All right, cool. Yeah, and we will be back next Monday, as we said. Have a good rest of your week, everybody. Fight on.